Hello and welcome to Conversations about Language Teaching. I am your co-host, Dr. Reed Riggs, he, him.
And I am Diane, Dr. Diane Neubauer, she, her.
Our topic this week is it's about a kind of interaction. It's a maybe a
Well,
sub kind of task. I don't know.
yeah, or it's an instructional activity in the minds of a lot of people, I think.
Sure.
So
And then
kind of crosses all of those.
it crosses all of those. Yeah. And then activity can be defined as what people are doing in real time as opposed to
Yeah.
like a set planned thing that I think researchers like to distinguish between a task. Okay, that could be separated to task and process versus task as work
That's
plan.
kind of planned. Yeah. And
Um,
everybody who's a teacher knows that what you plan for a lesson feels really different sometimes from what actually happens in the classroom. So
yeah,
we're talking about that actually in the classroom side, I think, as our
yeah,
aim today.
yes, yes. Um, okay, so there's a kind, so we'll
Should
situate
we name
this.
it?
Yeah, we'll name it. So it's called listen and do. And
And
it's
is that your term for it? Did you
No,
develop
it's
that or was that
not.
somebody else?
No,
Okay.
it's Ellison
I don't know where it
He.
came from.
No, it's Ellison He. And I was trying to find the year and the article, and we'll link it below. So I'll just leave it at that for now. I was kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
scrambling before I started recording this. Can I find it? Can I find it? And I couldn't, and I don't think it matters. I think we'll link it in the show notes. I'll find it after.
Yeah.
Um, it's an article that they wrote about task, something related to tasks. And this
Yeah,
is the
like
nature of the show. Welcome.
task-based
Yeah, something.
language-ish.
Yes,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But that's not the point. The point is that the term came. I borrowed the term from that paper. A
Yeah.
lot of research. I don't want to say a lot. I know of research on task-based performance, task-based interaction. That the task design is specifically this kind of listen and do. So, for example, a common one is that a teacher has the teacher distributes cards to students, picture cards, and they'll have maybe a bucket in the middle or a pile in the middle. And the teacher will call out names on the pictures. And so they'll say, squirrel, 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 an alligator. I think it was Shintani. It was a little excerpt
Yeah.
I keep kind of recycling over and over from her dissertation was, or his or her.
I'm not totally sure. I think she is
She.
the
Okay.
correct one,
We'll
but
go with she for now.
we'll
Okay.
double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was writing
They're
about classroom interaction in this particular, like it was a kind
young
of an
learners. It was young learners
input-based task, kind
in
of a feel
Japan.
to the study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Japan learning English. And I think it was early, like maybe kindergartners. It was little
Yeah.
children.
They were tiny. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then the teacher would say, yeah, squirrel and an acorn, squirrel and an acorn. And then kids would hold up cards. And it was kind of in the design of it that they'd hold up the wrong cards. And the teacher then would have the opportunity to say, no, that's an alligator. No, that's this other thing. And so there's
Mhm.
interaction prompted by mistakes, which are designed into the activity. And I don't know that Shintani talked about it as such, but I know that this all roots back to what Michael Long was talking about with, I guess, what did he call it? Negotiations for meaning.
Yeah.
But that you want these things, you want problems to come up so that you can negotiate for meaning, and that having it so concrete makes it so you're not bothering with like abstract story information or lots of extended discourse to remember, oh, but remember this happened, or we said this about this classmate, and so you got to remember that information. The cards make it very concrete and simple, and so you
Yeah.
can just point, not this card, it is that card.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And the task is pretty simple too. It's just identifying, matching a word to a
just
picture
just matching.
or a phrase. However,
Sure.
I think the Shintani thing was like of different looks at classroom interaction, students who were in that kind of setting ended up with more, I think the way that if it's she
Mhm.
theorized it was that there was more rich kind of input around this because it was like, no, it's a blue one with it's a big animal
That's
next
right.
to, rather than
Yeah.
just the single word. So there was naturally some more elaboration around it,
Mm-hmm.
even though the task itself didn't look designed for that.
Yeah.
It looked like just vocab match.
Right.
But because the teacher was using the target language more than that, it became a richer thing.
Yeah. I think that listen and do can that label and that kind of interaction doesn't have to just be picture cards. And teachers
Right.
actually do a lot of things that can also be called listen and do, even if they don't call it that. So I think I will call it that. Um, I think oftentimes total physical response
That's
is
what I was
very
just thinking of.
similar.
Yeah, TPR.
So TPR, so stand up, Stand up from your desk, everyone stand up. No, not everyone. No, no. Like, well, so if you say
Yeah,
like,
everyone with a blue shirt stand up.
yeah,
Okay, red shirts sit down quickly. People with a white shirt
yeah,
stand up slowly
yeah,
and sit down quickly.
yeah,
Everyone sit down
yeah,
quickly. Like this kind
yeah,
of like, so
yeah,
there's
you,
variety of commands. You have to be really alert and paying attention, but it's
yeah,
really just about the students acting physically in
hmm,
response to a prompt in the target language.
yeah. And I think it's that, I think what these all will have, and we'll keep going through more examples, but what they often have in common is a lack of continuous discourse.
Yeah.
And so you're not building a story and keeping track of the story.
Right.
If
There's
you,
not an argument. There's not a real ongoing description. It's like
mm-mm,
I've called this kind of thing ask and drop, but in
ask
this
and
case, it's
drop.
more like command and drop, where
Sure.
you're putting out a little thing,
Hmm.
students give you some sort of short response, and then you don't go back to it really again.
Yeah.
Not by
There can,
design, you don't have to.
you don't have to. There can be some kind of coherence to it. I think the one I just did with my seniors yesterday, in my our outdoor activities was minefield. And so I, like there's two steps to it. One is I hand out these color cards and I just say in Chinese, okay, I'll give you the pink ones, I'll give you the white ones, I'll give you the black ones, I'll give you the brown ones. They're different colors because we had a different game that needed the colors. But for this, it was just a random opportunity to like hand people different things. But then I said randomly put them on the ground. And students asked, does the black ones go here? I said randomly, randomly, and I kind of gestured around, just
Mhm.
randomly,
And
randomly.
of
And then
could you're
they
using Chinese at the time,
yeah,
so
it's all
that, yeah,
Chinese,
that's right.
100% Chinese. Yeah. But I'm also sheltered and repetitive and I point, I'm very
Yeah.
co-speech gesture like and not just co-speech but like co-word, like co-lexical. It's like as I say the word I point or I gesture the thing as I'm saying it. So I'm doing as much as I can to be comprehensible. Not
Mhm.
necessarily using words that they already know, but making sure that like they're able to do the task, able
Yeah.
to distribute the cards on the ground. And if they say they might still check like baisa ma like white, and I'll be like sui bien, and they're like okay, so then they'll try out their next interpretation, their next guess about what I mean, and then I nod a
Mhm.
lot and I go dui, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Again, all in Chinese, 100% Chinese for this. It can be 100% Chinese because there's so much physical and visual stuff, materials that we're using.
Yeah.
And there's no, I'm not saying, remember when we said this thing before? Like there's no continuous discourse. It's just do this now.
Yeah.
And so then the next step is someone needs to come up. And so I kind of point at someone and say, 你要不要? Like a thumbs up, thumbs down, 你要不要? Lai. And I'm gesturing like, come. And so someone comes. Now, if I need to, I'll break into English to establish some more complex instructions. The students yesterday thought that we were playing red light, green light because that's how they had seen those picture cards before. And I just said, I'm not going to deal with that level of confusion. We have to know exactly what we're going to do right now. So in English, I said, this is minefield. We need someone up here. They're going to be directed to walk through it. On some rounds, I'm going to be the only one talking because I want you to hear instructions in Chinese. And some rounds, you're going to be the only ones talking because I want you to have opportunities to see what you can say and to struggle productively and try to get through it. Is everyone clear? I said yes. And then we go back into Chinese. It's
Yeah,
just
so
about
making
the
those
simplicity.
directions,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
clear ways, like how are you supposed to participate? So if they're not understanding a word or they're like, wait, he's saying a word I don't know, it's not a panic moment because they know, oh, I just need to figure this out. That my goal is here to figure out what I need to do. I don't have to say a big response. I don't have to remember this word
No,
immediately and
no,
master it today.
no.
It's so it's a more gradual introduction to some of these vocab.
If I wanted them to repeat after me, then I would probably say that in English. Like, I don't want there to be any
Yeah,
confusion about how to participate. There should
right.
be little bits of confusion like the
In the
participation in the
activity.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it already has
Yeah.
that built into it. But
Yeah.
I
And
don't, yeah.
you just called it a game, and I think that is a lot of the listen and do kinds of stuff does feel game-like,
They
even if
do.
it's not like a really structured game.
Yeah.
It's like this kind of like quick back and forth sort of feel to it,
Yeah.
or you're trying to accomplish like success at a thing and you get an immediate dopamine
Yeah.
hit if you got it, and when
I
you get it. And so that little
yeah.
bit of like
Yeah.
achievable struggle
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
actually
Yeah.
really like it makes it more fun when you get it. So it's like that achievable level
I
of
think
struggle.
games, like if you think of the game Jeopardy, like you can't really argue is Jeopardy a legit game? It's one of the most watched,
Mhm.
funded, sponsored, viewed, played. Like Jeopardy is established and like that's a legit thing. So I think Jeopardy is a
Yeah.
useful comparison. There has to be randomization and surprise in games, typically. Not all games. Chess is something that you can
Yeah.
strategize. It's just complex beyond what is easy to strategize, and so therefore there's not
Yeah.
it's not randomized for you. But a lot of games involve like flip a card, roll dice.
Mhm.
Listen and do often also involves randomization because students have to show their comprehension of the language and not just of physical things. Now,
Yeah.
maybe that's different. I have to think on this. Maybe that's does that set it apart from my minefield game where they can rely on my pointing and gesturing? I think
Hmm.
oftentimes we'll start with that high level of scaffolding and then start to
Yeah.
remove some of the pointing and gestures, but then put it back in whenever they need it.
Yeah.
So, but it's about being present with the student to see what load they can handle. Like is
Yeah.
and to
Yeah,
not
you
let them
don't want
struggle
the
too much.
frustration level
Yeah.
exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll check out or they'll be like, yeah,
Yep.
you don't want to get it to the point of
Yeah.
true frustration. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
During my rounds when I would lead, and I'd usually choose a student who I could see was better at not necessarily better at language, but better at handling guessing. I guess actful people would call it tolerance for ambiguity. I think it's more than that. It's willingness to participate when they don't fully understand. And so
Hmm.
they'll
So
take
they have
little
to
guesses.
risk.
They'll
Yeah.
take little guesses. Yeah, they'll take little risks. So I'll say like Zoe da boo, and I'm maybe using a gesture for big or
Demonstrating
like
it.
or even demonstrating with my own foot. And then
Because that,
they'll I'll,
just
I'll
to
I'll
clarify,
translate.
that
I'll
meant,
translate. I will
yeah.
translate. I will.
Okay.
But so let me
Let
through
our
my
listeners have
story.
the productive struggle. Is that?
Well, I want my story to demonstrate kind of the student's
Yes.
experience.
Gotcha.
So then they might start to stick their foot out really far, and then I'll say "dui dui dui zoe da bu," and then they'll step down, and I'll go "dui," and so then they're like, "Oh, okay, that's confirmed. He meant take a big step." And so
Hmm.
then I'll recycle that as much as possible, not necessarily to say it in order, to say it like again and again randomly, but that's the phrasing I'll use whenever I want them to take a big step.
Hmm.
Now, afterwards, some students wanted to clarify in English. Oh, was that take a big step? And then I'll kind of whisper, yeah, yeah, take a big step. It's Zoe Dabu. So it's sort of like off, what do you call it? Like off the record. It's kind of
Yeah.
whispering. I'll
Yep.
allow it a little bit, that
Hmm.
clarification. But yeah, so I kind of see that as sort of, yeah, socializing them. I don't know, like just having them see and take guesses and then listen and do. I mean, that's just
Hmm.
another example. Like they're hearing and they're doing. But that's an example of where it can be a coherent, structured
Yeah.
thing. I've thought about
Right.
that
Because
card
you're trying to get them
activity.
across a field where they have to
Yeah.
avoid obstacles
Yeah,
across the thing, right?
if they step on any color card, then they're out. Then the next
Yeah.
student goes up. Yeah,
Are they blindfolded or
they keep their eyes closed.
okay. Okay.
I
Yeah.
have had
So
students that are, more anxiety prone or less,
yeah.
I worry about them a bit more. And so I'll say you can keep your eyes open and then we'll just gesture as needed and then remove gestures as needed. And still I can adjust to them to see kind of what their comfort level is.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's important to note.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do you think that a thing that I did back in the day, I had a textbook that had a very topic per chapter kind of thing, but the way I did I want to say it was locations in a town, I think is what we did. So we had like library and
Oh yeah,
school
yeah,
and
yeah.
home
Hmm.
and so what I did to try to make this kind of fun was one student would kind of be the protector and another would be blindfolded, and at the time I wasn't sensitive about what that might do to some folks,
Okay.
but I would blindfold the, I think, seventh grader,
Mm.
and then they would walk through an obstacle course designed by their classmates. So everybody else was still watching,
Oh, cool.
and they were able to like make sure that she didn't bump into a desk or knock things down and hurt herself, like the
Yeah.
person who was walking, but had to go like, okay, go forward 5 steps, now turn left,
Right.
go two
Oh,
steps, and
similar.
then
Super
yeah, and
similar.
so
Yeah.
they all got to place the thing. So like we got a card for a
Mm.
location that was randomized each time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like nobody knew what the route was going to be, and
Cool.
everybody kind of helped create it. I
That's
think it's
awesome.
listen and do,
That sounds exactly like this minefield
like
thing. Mine was
minefield. Yeah.
avoid any colored squares to step on. Yours was rather
Find a
than avoid,
target spot.
find a target. Yeah, walk to that target. Sounds
Yeah.
almost identical. Yeah. Yep. And like you said, there's that randomization element. Like that's the thing that you
Yeah.
always find because
And
it's
yet a
like
clear end, like
right.
a
Yeah.
goal that's
Yeah.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you called
But
it like task, it's that's kind of part of
that's
the
the task.
definition
Yeah.
of a task. So
I think that the card, squirrel and an acorn, hold, oh, that's an alligator. No, squirrel and acorn. The task is to get through all the cards. Like there is some
yeah.
end to it, is to get through all the cards. Um,
Yeah, maybe not
so
as exciting an end, except but a lot of people who like flashcards get motivated by finishing a stack. So maybe that is enough for some
yeah,
people to feel like they've got a sense
I
of
don't
closure there.
it. I think the one that you did and the one that I did is a little more like a game where
Hmm.
there's a winner and they win by completing whatever. I don't know that the card one was set up to be a game, whether there could be a
Hmm.
winner. It's
Right,
just like,
right.
okay, let's just see if
It's
we
a
learned the
language
words. Yeah,
practice.
we learned
Yeah,
the words. Okay, we're done learning the words.
right.
Now you could set it up where we are going to build our own zoo, and you have cards with different animals. Um, and maybe we can all negotiate what animals will be in the zoo, but different people have different
Hmm.
cards. So it's like a kind of a cooperative.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's a
Or where
game,
to put the
but
cages in a
sure. Oh, where to put the cages?
alignment with
Yeah.
each
So
other
different
or
people have different
something.
cards. Yeah. So then you
Yeah.
could ask like, oh, do we want? And you can gesture a lot. Like you can point at which
Hmm.
cage, point at which card. But you do that through a few rounds and then gradually point less, and
Hmm.
then see if you can negotiate which animals go in which cages next to which. You can move the cages too.
Yeah.
Negotiate that. So that'd
Yeah.
be a little more coherent way of doing it. Yeah.
I was thinking do two more things that I think could be listen and do, but one feels definitely listen and do to me, and the other one I think might be more than that. And that's because it's got a cohesive storyline, kind of a description behind it. And that's listen and draw, where
Okay.
if the teacher is guiding it, where the students are drawing an image as they hear a description. I've done listen and draw that way, and I've also done it as a co-created description. So I'll start out maybe with something that I want to be able to talk about with the students, but then I'm asking them to fill in the details, like it's story asking.
Sure.
That I don't think is listen and do.
I see.
But the one where it's a teacher-led description, like let's say I'm even looking at an image that the students can't see, I'm describing it slowly, they're drawing it, and then we're going to compare at the end. Is that listen and do?
I think the if we're defining listen and do as the turn by turn interaction, then if you're saying draw this and
Because
then
it
they draw it,
builds.
then it doesn't have to build. I think a better listen
Mm-hmm.
and do is one that is coherently building towards something.
Yeah,
But
me
a lot of
too.
listen and do is just purely like randomized. I say it, you do it. So if you're
Right.
saying you, draw a circle, and then they draw a circle, that interaction is listen and
Mm,
do interaction.
yeah.
If it coherently builds, all the better. Um,
Yeah, I agree. It's then you get the context of the words. They're
yeah,
gonna have more tied in
sure.
meaning because it's not just,
The
yeah, out of the
problem that
blue.
teachers and students run into when it's too coherent is that students will do it without listening at all.
Yeah.
And so if you have a picture already shown and you say, I'm going to tell you which parts to draw, now they don't need
Hmm.
to listen to you.
Right.
They can do without listening.
Yeah, you
Um,
absolutely want them to have to understand and interpret meaning from
which
listening.
step?
Yes.
Yeah. And also
Yeah.
like even if you said like, well, you have to draw them in the order that I say, unless you're watching them every
Hmm.
step of the way, they can just get ahead of you because they can just
Yeah.
look without listening. And they might even wait till you point and then just draw because they already knew what they have to do. I think
Right.
that borders on more like what
Hmm.
experiential learning can often look like,
True.
where our new experiential ed director at our school um, shared a story about his grandpa wanting to have a woven hat. It's a very special kind of Hawaiian hat, and the expert who knew how to make these only spoke Hawaiian. And so this is back in the day when he was young. He wanted to learn how to weave these hats, and so he worked with this expert hat weaver. And the hat weaver just showed him how to make hats in Hawaiian, like showed him how to make hats, but only was able to speak Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of when we bring students to these sorts of immersive experiences, I wouldn't necessarily call that listen and do in the way we're defining it here, because you
Yeah.
don't have to
It's a
wait
little more
to listen
complex.
and understand to do each next step. You can just watch the
Hmm.
person weaving the hat and follow their weaving. The language
Yeah.
sort of is super incidental. That doesn't mean you don't gain language from it. You probably do. It's
Yeah.
just not listen and do interaction as we're talking about it
Right.
right here.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's more like maybe story listening or
It's
something where
more
there's
like,
not a lot of verbal interaction expected from the students, but there's some kind of a thing that's going on and there's visuals
yeah,
that clarify meaning a little bit.
I would distinguish it again though, because
Hmm.
story listening, you still have to understand, you're still struggling
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
you're grappling with understanding the verbal language from the teacher telling
True.
the story.
True.
With
True.
this,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah. It's even less
truly
maybe.
tune out. You can truly not listen to any language and just watch the person doing it. But I
Hmm.
still think the immersive environment is very similar to what children get, where it's just
Yeah.
lots of healthy exposure.
Yeah. And
And
in the case of that person,
yeah,
they wanted to get the hat.
yeah,
Like so maybe they're keyed in, like,
yeah,
really focused on all the possible things that might help them understand how to do this. So they
yeah.
might
And they're
pick up
motivated.
words. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is not always the case, of
No.
course, for people in
Yeah, the
classrooms. Yeah.
classrooms, we have to do other
So,
things to motivate. Yeah.
right. Right. So,
Um,
yeah. So we try to find most efficient and most motivating things when
yeah.
we go in the classroom.
I want to,
But
yeah.
two, I think some of these listen and do, like if we're going to say these like kind of random, do one and one other example like that, I think is fly swatter games, maybe,
Hmm, hmm,
where
hmm.
you've got maybe
Yep.
pictures shown on a projector screen and
Hmm.
students have to hear something and they smack it. I called it smack when I used to play this
Yeah.
in classrooms. I teach online so much now, I can't really do
Can't
that,
do it as much.
but
Yeah.
not as easily.
Digital,
I could
digital,
think of a way.
digital
Yeah,
fly
yeah, yeah. You
swatters,
could
right? Yeah.
use
Move
like a
the
whiteboard with
cursor. Yeah.
annotation tools, but the I tried to make it a little bit more rich than just a vocabulary identification
Yeah.
by giving sentences. Which
Mm.
sentence are you hearing?
Uh,
Which image is being described
sure.
by this sentence that I say? And okay, it's those three. Oh, are none of them described well by that? Okay,
Yeah.
and so they had to kind of figure out. I would have them throw stuffed animals at the
Yeah.
image, and so like you need light things. You
Yep.
do. You,
Yep.
you need like a break sometimes. So these have a role. I
Yeah.
just wouldn't want it to be like this isn't the main course. This is maybe like the snack food or
Sure.
the dessert
So it's
item
probably
if students
shorter.
really like it.
It's a shorter thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
This gets at one point I wanted to add though is that um, once students get into the routine of of a listen and do activity, like if they've done the animal zoo one before, then if you do it again, they already know how to participate. And so you can start to make your instructional language more complex. You can do
Yeah.
things that are not very comprehensible, but that fit what you're doing and get the students exposed to that language, much like
Hmm.
an immersion classroom.
Hmm.
And it's not going to disrupt participation because they already know how to
Right.
participate. And so
Yeah.
even if the first time you do it, you use some English to say, we've got these animals. We're going to build our own zoo. Let's see what happens. Done with instructions. Maybe that's all you need.
Mhm.
But that
Yeah,
lets the
especially
students
students who are
know
well acclimated to the kinds of things that you're going to
that too. Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I have had a lot of, plenty of bad memories of me trying to jump into something full immersion that's a new activity with new students
Mm,
who barely know me. And they just start checking out and tuning out and talking with each other, saying, "Can I go to the bathroom?" Never coming back, or taking a long
yep.
time. "Can I go to the
Yeah.
nurse?" I don't see them again.
Yeah. And I
So
think this is key. Just a little aside about
yeah,
using the target language in the classroom. I
yeah,
think that, if someone is being pushed to be 100% or nearly 100%, this aspect of it needs to
mhm,
be considered. that, the students may not know how to participate in that moment. And the teacher may have unreasonable expectations for what they can do too, or what they're understanding, or how
Yeah.
much they need to understand in order to do
Yeah.
the kind of interaction they're expecting.
Yeah.
And so all of that has to be considered. And students' known languages are a resource and they have a right to them.
Yeah. I've checked in with students who look frozen where I'll have an activity that I think is familiar to them. It'll be like a new image of some like lizard people in business suits on a foreign planet, a misty planet.
As
And
you would.
as I would, yeah. And I think that, but I think in my mind, I'm like, okay, this should be familiar. We've done things like this before. They know that I'm going to ask questions. They know that I will try to get their ideas to build some sort of playful, fictitious thing, and it's going to involve maybe some concepts that we've been dealing with in this unit, maybe some familiar vocabulary. Hopefully, they can yell stuff out. And so I ask a question, and some of them do, but some of them just stare at me blankly. And so we'll continue, and I'll go with the students who are participating. Hopefully, the other ones will see that I'm going along. They'll see how to participate through their classmates participating. And but a minute or two go by, and I'm still looking at some blank stares from us. So I'll check in, and I'll say, "Okay, what do you think?" And they're like, "I have no idea what's going on." And I'll go, "Okay, okay, let me explain. We are making up fake information. We're playing with this picture, and I'm asking for your ideas, and I want you to give ideas." And they go, "Oh, you want our ideas?" And I go, "Yeah."
Mhm.
And they'll say, "Oh, okay, yeah." It's as simple as that. It's not that they
Yeah.
can't do it. They just didn't know what I wanted. And so it's
Exactly.
really that
This is why,
simple.
like, comprehensibility in a classroom is not only of the target language, it is
Yeah,
also of the way that you're being invited to participate.
right.
And if
Because
you don't
different
have,
activities are
yeah,
different. Right.
you need both to be clear enough that
Yep.
students can do stuff. So I think a lot of times, yeah, just I'm thinking of some situations I just read about in teacher groups on Facebook. And I think sometimes the problem isn't the target language, it's the how do I do this? Like, what are you really wanting me to participate in here?
Yeah.
And so, especially something that doesn't feel like a traditional classroom activity. Like, frankly, I think most of the time, a classroom would not have a lizard, like
Sure.
a lizard man in
Sure.
a business suit. And,
Right. Yeah.
it's unusual.
Yep.
And so they don't know what to do with it necessarily based on their experience in other language classes.
Yeah.
And so you
Or
got to tell them.
I think other ones that have come up are students say, "Oh, I thought you wanted us to remember what we said last time." And I'll say, "No, I want new
Mm,
information. Oh, we're going to make a new story." And they go, "Oh, yeah, I can do that." It's
yeah.
just that simple wondering about like what kind of information do you want from me, or do you want me to? Oftentimes when we would do, let's build a story together, the teacher. We see this in demos, especially with brand new students that have never done like building a story together, scene building kind of thing. They'll the teacher will ask a question and a bunch of students will start repeating the question back. So the teacher needs to explain, I don't want you to repeat after me. I want you to understand my question and
Yeah.
answer the
Think
question.
about it and
Yeah.
respond. Yeah.
So, so with listen and do, you can really just simply say, like, I'm going to tell you to do things and you need to do them. Here we go. Like it can be as
Yeah.
simple as that.
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you to draw something. When I tell you to draw this next thing, you draw it. We're going to see what it'll be in the end. And so, yeah, really just simple instructions for it. But then once they're in the routine, like, the next time you do it,
Yeah.
maybe it's a similar resource, or maybe you have a similar title on a slide, something to cue them
Mhm.
in that, like, oh, it's this kind of activity. Or if you just start with English, like, okay, listen and we'll do it. Or it could be during the same activity. As long as they know what to do, you can start peppering in comments, praise, the next instruction, like a lot of procedural talk
Yeah.
can be in the target language and not very sheltered.
Yeah.
You can just start exposing them. And it doesn't have to be absolute wild. Make sure I always use new words every time. It's better if it's repetitive,
Mhm.
because they'll gain more from that. But like you can say,
Yeah.
wow, I'm really impressed. Jen Lehigh, something like that. Jen Lehigh, wow, how impressive. Jen Lehigh. And you just start throwing it in, and eventually a student might ask, like, "Hey, I noticed you keep saying that. What is that?" And you're like, "Oh, it just means like really impressive." Chinese people say it a lot. Jen Lehigh, and they're like, "Okay," but they can start to pick up language from your classroom much more similar to how a kindergarten immersion class would be, or just a first language preschool class would be, where it's just the
Hmm.
teacher says stuff and the students don't have to respond to it. It's just peppered in the middle. Um,
Yep.
and
Yep.
so now they
And I
can
love
get that
that
exposure.
you're thinking of that kind of progression in this kind of thing, because this when this activity is so simple, we don't have to continue to have it exactly the same way every time that we do it. Like
Right.
that
Yeah.
ability to build on it. So like, okay, now you figured out how to participate in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna have this kind of an end point, and
Yeah.
then now we can talk about it a little bit more. And I've heard there's a Spanish teacher in Texas, Andrea Schweitzer. She did
Mhm.
a webinar for the Actful Comprehension-Based Communicative Language Teaching Special Interest Group.
Yeah. CCLT SIG.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, on using games as a communicative activity. And this was the way in which she really did it. The game was just the premise,
Yeah.
and it was actually the procedural talk was where the target language use was really more, meaningful.
Yeah. It's your
Where
turn.
you're like, oh,
Okay. Whose
whose
turn? Your
turn is it
turn. Whose
next?
turn? Your turn.
Wow, that team is ahead.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
watch out, your team.
Yeah.
Are you going to try harder next time? Okay,
Yeah.
let's go.
Right.
And so those kinds of things
Mm.
were where she
Hmm.
really could use the target language. And I think
Yeah.
that kind of opportunity is sometimes overlooked by language teachers.
I think that something like if you have a continuous discourse kind of activity, such as building a story together, where, if we said Jim was in Beijing, then we can't suddenly say Jim was in Shanghai unless we say he went from Beijing to Shanghai, or tomorrow he's in Shanghai.
Mm.
Like the information that we agree on needs to remain relevant in that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That kind of eats up our attention,
Yeah.
and there's not a lot of space for confusion from
Hmm.
less than comprehensible procedural talk in those kinds of moments. So it's like, if we're really zoned in on the story information, then we need to like really be clear on what is being added to the story. And so the language has to
Yes.
be really comprehensible. We might
Very
have to use some
comprehensible.
scaffolding from a shared language, in America. English might be used a bit more to be like, hold on, let's clarify the story. Let's clarify the story. And listen and do, it's the English is clarifying the procedures.
Mhm.
And it can be very routinized to the point where we don't need English pretty quickly. But yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of just randomizing the information and not having continuous discourse. And this is all
Mhm.
part of a bigger balanced diet of things to do in your classroom. So
Yeah.
I am in no way advocating, I'm not at all advocating that you throw everything else away and just do listen and do activities.
No.
It's a balanced
Yeah.
diet of different things.
And yeah, and different things are going to accomplish different goals in the moment.
Yep.
And the teacher in that classroom is going to have a better sense of what is that immediate goal need,
Yeah.
working with those particular students in that time frame.
Yeah.
So, it's Friday afternoon at 3:30 and we have another half hour. Like that's a different
You
situation
guys are itching to
than
get out of here. Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
Let's
sometimes
do, and
these
you could
things
call it
are
a game if you want to just call it a game.
yeah.
A lot of times students ask for games. My students, my 10th graders right now, they're a pretty confident bunch. And so they'll often walk in and say, "Can we just do games today?" And if I say, yes, but it's going to be in Chinese, they go, "Aw." Like they're just
Good
really,
grief.
yeah. Like what they mean is, can we not have? I've started
Not
getting
have to
sarcastic
think.
with them. Yeah, if they
Yeah.
come in and say, "Can we play outside today?" I go, "Can we just not have class today? Can we just not do anything? Can we just not learn Chinese
Yeah.
today?"
I
Yeah,
I don't feel like learning today.
yeah.
Can
Can we
I?
not learn today? Like, no, no, no. We can make the learning fun.
Yeah.
I just thought of something though, and I didn't really put this together. There's always some new little side to look at in these things. The listen and do activities might be a good way to get your students uh, into the classroom procedures in the target language because you can
Hmm.
pepper them in between. So it's a little bit of a shimmying up the wall. It's like one leg at a time. So the first leg
Yeah.
is to get them routinized into the card sorting or minefield or listen and draw, whatever the listen and do. Oh, another example was I passed out Chinese history timelines. And then I would say Shang Chao, and they'd have to look around for Shang Dynasty. It was all in English.
And boop.
It was English, but it was a pretty one. I chose it because it looked pretty. And so as a Google image search, I found I was like, this one looks good. It's all in English, but looks good. But then I would just say it in Chinese,
Let's
Shang
say it in
Chao.
Chinese. Yeah.
And then they'd find Shang Dynasty and they point to it. So that was listen and do. And it was
Yeah.
randomized. It's like if I say them in order, then they'll get mad and say, well, I don't have to, you're just going in order now. So yeah, jump to the
Has to
future.
be
Yep.
random. Yeah.
Has to be random. But then, so whatever it is, then you can start peppering in, okay, now Guy Shayla, Dao Shayla, like, whose turn, whose
Hmm.
turn? Like, oh, Dao Nila,
Hmm.
how ni? And so you can get them used to the language and the, I guess, socialization process
Hmm.
of like expecting that I'll be called on, expecting that the teacher's asking who's next and the
Yeah.
language that goes with that. But then that I think could be transferred to other activities where maybe it's not a
Yeah.
listen and do activity. Maybe it's read out your answers. Maybe it's whose turn is it to contribute an idea for our story.
Hmm.
So I hadn't really thought about that before.
Yeah.
That listen and do could be a training ground for hearing
Hmm.
classroom procedures.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it feels more approachable as an activity to the student.
Yep.
And then the teacher can kind of build on that
Sit
to
down if
get
you're wearing
more
red. Okay, whose turn? Whose
reflections.
turn? Not you, not you. It's you, it's you. Sit
Hmm.
down if you're wearing green. Yeah, that's right, it's you. Hmm. Yeah. Okay, something to
Uh-huh.
think on. I might go and play with
Yeah.
that in my classroom a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And just one thought as you were talking about that, it's like it's because the goal of a quality teacher, of a teacher who loves their students and wants them to succeed, is that you want to give them tasks that they can actually do.
Yeah, right.
So
They want to feel
it's not to
successful,
find,
right?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
to show them that they can be successful and to ask them to do something that's just a little bit more than
Hmm.
what they've done before. And so if you can find that level of it,
Yep.
it's going to feel like this really satisfying
Yeah.
accomplishment when they can do it.
I would add one thing to that. So I've been talking with other teachers for a while. And one thing I hear teachers say is, oh, we haven't taught that verb yet. We haven't learned that yet. And that's a very structuralist way of thinking of language. It's also probably the most common way of thinking about language for language teachers. My response is, if it's comprehensible in the moment, then I
Mhm.
wouldn't hold back.
Don't worry.
If
Yeah.
you can make it comprehensible in the moment, and if you can make it routine, you don't need to teach it in one sitting.
Right.
You make this kind of game or this kind of activity
Exactly.
routine. And so if you're asking, whose turn is it? Whose turn is it? And you say, oh, they're not ready for turn. That's too much new vocabulary. Don't force it. Just use it a little bit this time, use it a little bit next time,
Hmm.
and they'll just start to get used to it. If you do it with a gesture, they'll get used to the gesture you're doing with your pointing toward a student. Then
Hmm.
they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's the teacher asking whose turn it is," when they point,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah. And this,
gradually,
right.
over weeks maybe they'll start to get used to the phrases. You can check once in a while by
Yeah.
not gesturing and say Guy Shayla," and they'll you can see if they interpret that correctly as whose turn is it, whose turn is it.
Yeah.
Um,
And that one
but
reminded me of a quote that I wish I could remember off it word for word, but it's from the 1970s, and
okay.
I'll put it in show notes that,
Mm,
but that idea of that vocabulary acquisition was kind of what was in view there, that like we gain language over time. Like it's like going from a dusky twilight to the light of full day or something
sure.
along those
Okay.
lines. There's this
Yeah.
beautiful image of
Take a slow
like
view.
it's not, yeah, it's not, not every word has to be 100% clear immediately all at once. And but when you have this safe space that you're
Yeah.
designing in this kind of activity,
I'm
you can allow for a
suspicious.
little bit to start to sneak in.
Yeah. I'm suspicious when teachers talk about like having you learn a word at a certain time,
Yeah.
because then my fear is that you'll feel like you're done and then you'll
Yes.
avoid using it in the future, or you'll just crowd it away with the new word you're focusing on.
Yeah.
It's better to
Yeah.
kind of distribute.
Yeah. And you may not really know all the range of meanings of that word. In fact,
That
I
too
don't know how you
takes
could
time.
if you learned it in
Sure.
one context.
Right. Well, I think that's good for our topic here. All right. This
Yeah.
has been
Yeah.
Listen
Nice
and
talking
Do.
with you.
Yeah.
All
All right.
righty.
Well, thanks, Dan. I've been Reed Riggs.
And I'm Diane Neubauer.
Thanks for listening.
See you.